Commonly referred to as weed or pot, marijuana is a dried product of flowers and buds from the plant Cannabis sativa. It contains more than 500 chemicals, many of which have not been tested, and most commonly sought after is the main psychoactive chemical delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, more commonly known as THC, which is found in the resin produced by the leaves and buds on the plants. With the talk of legalization of marijuana such a current subject in the United States, it seems like the perfect time to explore some of the unexpected effects of legalizing the drug recreationally. Although the discussion involving the legalization of marijuana for medical purposes is very relevant today, I choose to focus on just the legalization for recreational purposes only. The arguments regarding medical legalization have very little to do with warranting the legalization for recreational use. Today, I would like to draw your attention to some of the negative effects that may not be considered when discussing the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. We can do this today by focusing on how the legalization of marijuana would negatively impact consumers by damaging their health, productivity, and future as a whole. To start, let's examine the way marijuana negatively affects the body. I mentioned earlier that the drug contains more than 500 chemicals, and many of those have not been researched enough to establish what type of effect they have on the body, while others have been categorized as carcinogens, meaning that they possess the ability to cause cancer and have said to be more toxic than chemicals produced from cigarette smoke. Many health professionals are not in favor of the legalization of the drug, and Donald Gardner builds on the idea by explaining in his article published in 2017 with the Journal of Nurse Practitioners that nurse practitioners have a responsibility to advocate against the legalization of marijuana due to these harmful health effects. In addition to the cancer-causing chemicals found in marijuana, there is a discussion around how the psychoactive effects of this drug may have long-term effects on the user's perception, cognition, and memory, while the drug is also linked to panic attacks, hallucinations, and even depression among a wide variety of users. The less discussed negative health effects that have been established, according to Timothy Haso, is that due to the altered judgment that accompanies the use of marijuana, there was observed a higher increase in sexually transmitted diseases among the community of users. In an academic article written by Timothy Haso, the long-term and short-term effects of the use of marijuana are listed to include short-term and long-term memory loss, loss of motor coordination, poor education outcome, and a diminished satisfaction of life and achievement, which all affects the individual's ability to be productive and efficient in everyday life, both short-term and long-term. Taking into account these impacts, a study was conducted by Maya Heyman through Uppsala University that determined that there was a connection between the use of recreational marijuana and the overall contribution of an individual to the economy. Heyman's study concluded that the people who come from lower economic backgrounds and are exposed to marijuana are less likely to make in financial progress, and as opposed to those who come from low economic individuals who are not exposed to marijuana. How could a drug be accepted as recreational use when there is evidence that the use of it recreationally would suppress an entire economic class of citizens? Another large topic of discussion when opposing the legalization of recreational marijuana is the gateway hypothesis, which basically states that the use and abuse of one drug will make a participant more likely to experiment and explore with other dangerous drugs. By the legalization of a psychoactive drug such as marijuana, it may introduce the idea of drugs into more brains throughout the nation, and when the high of a milder Section 1 drug such as marijuana loses its effect, it has been shown that users will then search out another drug that provides the desired euphoria. One may argue that there would be an age limit placed on the legalization of the drug, but Elaine Hosef explains in her article with the American Academy of Pediatrics that the legalization of marijuana would decrease adolescents' perception of the risk and increase the exposure to drugs. Drugs referring to not only marijuana, but also more extreme drugs such as narcotics and opioids. It was best said in the journal publication with the Pharmacy and Pharmacological International Journal, when Edward Fisher declared that taking into account the impact and cost, the physical and mental health damages, the economic cost to society will far outweigh the potential revenue. So in conclusion, the legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes would not only negatively affect users' health, but also the legalization could potentially damage productivity of the economy while also increasing exposure of adolescents to drug culture. With tobacco and alcohol already legal and available, causing their own problems, we should keep from legalizing another mind-altering drug from being accessible and available. Thank you.